Hello, I've been riding Suzuki's new GSX-S1000. With the engine from a 2008 GSX-R1000 in a new aluminium chassis, it's the bike Suzuki hopes will take it straight to the cutting edge of the super naked class, alongside stuff like BMW's S1000R. Now, Visordown was on the launch of the GSX-S1000 back in March in Spain, so we've already told you it's really fast and it handles, stops well, but what's it like to live with for a week on the traffic clogged roads of the UK? That's what I've been finding out. First thing I thought when I saw the GSX-S1000 in the car park was that it's tiny, no bigger than a 600cc sports bike of a few years ago. It's wide where the frame hugs the engine, but much narrower where your knees hug the tank, so it feels really compact. The mid-range takes off at about 4,000 RPM and it just keeps going. It's 143.5 horsepower and 78.2 pounds-foot, so 16 horsepower and 4 pounds-foot down on the S1000R, but it's still insanely fast. I defy 95% of riders to say this is holding me back, it's too slow. In any gear, any revs, it just wants to accelerate, and actually that's the problem. It really does always just want to accelerate. Riding to work through the city, the throttle response was just really annoying. In third gear at 30 miles an hour, it's at about 2,500 RPM, and keeping it there is a delicate balancing act between accelerating and shutting off altogether. A tiny wrist movement one way and you're going faster, a tiny correction and you're slowing down, when all you want is to go 30 miles an hour. Changing up just creates the same effect but in fourth gear. And it's not just in town. At 50 miles an hour in sixth, the revs are about 3,000 and it feels the same. By 4,000, it feels like it's on the cusp of unleashing that mid-range. And at 70 miles an hour, the revs have climbed to 5,000 and it still feels like it either wants to shut off or go faster. It's as though Suzuki road testers never tried riding the GSX-S1000 at a constant speed, only ragging it. Of course, you get used to it and it gets slightly less annoying. But that's essentially because you're learning to do a precision task with an imprecise tool, like pouring milk into a cup of tea from a bucket. If you did that for a day, no doubt you'd get the hang of it, but it would still be much easier to switch to using a jug, as I kind of found out when I went back to using my own bike. The second time I rode into work on the GSX-S1000, I found myself naturally selecting fifth gear at about 30 miles an hour because that did reduce the throttle's on-off tendency. But that's at least one gear higher than I would normally go for, and obviously it means more changes and more clutch use, which isn't what you want riding to work in the morning. It's a big shame. Suzuki actually says the mid-range on this bike makes it more suitable for street riding, but it doesn't because of that throttle response. And otherwise, it's a really good bike. It's easy to switch the traction control off or to change between the three modes. The digital clocks are simple but useful. They include average fuel consumption, which was 41.3 miles per gallon. The tank is 17 litres, so the range should be about 150 miles. It should make a really good town bike. It's barely wider at the mirrors than it is at the bars, which is useful when filtering, and it's got a much wider steering angle than the BMW S1000R, which is more like a sports bike given straight bars. It's comfortable. There's a little bit of a reach to the bars, more so than on Kawasaki Z1000, but it's definitely upright and the seat is quite soft. And it sounds good. It sounds good and it's loud for a Japanese bike. And I don't think it's badly priced at $8,999. It can be forgiven if it's not quite as good as an S1000R because it's a whole grand cheaper. It gets a bit more complicated when you consider that ABS is standard on the S1000R and £500 extra on the Suzuki. But I think with that throttle response fixed, it would be perfectly possible to recommend the GSX-S1000. So fix it please, Suzuki.